welcome to this Christmas in a Box training. The idea of this session is to introduce you to our resource Christmas in a Box. It was a resource that we developed during lockdowns, so it's suitable and adaptable even for lockdown times, but we're really hoping, aren't we, that that won't happen this year. And it was piloted last year in at least 8 schools across Bristol, and in other church schools across the country. And last year, of course, because of the strange circumstances that we were in, often it was a case of the church literally putting the resource together and then gifting it to the school, and somebody in the school hosting the session, usually a teacher. Whereas we're really hopeful that this year and in following years, it will be more a case of the church putting the resource together and taking it in themselves to host the sessions in the schools. That's what we're really hoping for this year. And it's something that could be led by one volunteer, a few volunteers, and we'll talk much more about all of the organisation aspect of that a little bit later. If you do go on and decide to use Christmas in a Box this year, we would love to hear how it goes, what you do, who you do it with, in terms of year groups, etc. And we'd love to get your feedback, because it's still only the 2nd year it's being used. So we'd love to hear what you make of it and how the children receive it. So when we created Christmas in a Box, we wanted to create something that was very simple, something that had a sense of real wonder about it, something that was fresh, a creative way of telling the Christmas story, something that was interactive and multisensory, something that was fun, and something that was spiritual. So that's what we were trying to create. And the Christmas in a Box is kind of based on that concept that everybody loves, don't they? Getting a gift, getting a present, getting a box and opening it up to see what's inside. And so the resource is based on that sort of concept. And how we're going to go this session is that we're going to introduce the resource to you. And we're going to then, Jane is going to demonstrate how you might unpack the first 2 boxes, because Christmas in a Box is a series of 6 boxes, and she's going to demonstrate unpacking 2 boxes as if how you might do it with some children. And then we're just going to briefly show you the contents of the other 4 boxes, because there's a repeated rhythm and pattern to unpacking the boxes. So once you've seen a couple of them unpacked, we figure you'll be great to go on and follow that pattern, and we'll just show you what's in the other boxes fairly briefly. So we're going to do all of that in the first part, and then we're going to have some time for questions, and then after that we're going to go into the organizational aspects. I know lots of you will have questions around, well, how many people do I need? Do I need a team? What if I can't go into school? You know, how much do the resources cost? All those very practical questions. We know you'll be bursting with those, so we'll tackle those in the second half of the evening. Again, in terms of Zoom, please feel free to use the chat. If you've got a question and you're worried you'll forget it, stick it in the chat. We'll get round to them eventually. And yeah, I think we're ready to get started. So I'm going to show you now, share my screen. So just give me a moment to get that organised. There we go. Okay, so what I'm showing you now is I'm going to show you the first few pages of the Christmas in a Box user guide. So this is by way of showing you the user guide, which is free to download, but it's also a way of introducing the resource to you. So Christmas in a Box is a resource designed for primary school children in years 1 to 6, although we know it's going to be used in reception this year as well. And it can be facilitated by one local church volunteer or by a volunteer team. It could also, if that becomes necessary, be delivered to the school for somebody in the school to facilitate. And it enables children to explore 2 key questions. Firstly, what do Christians believe about the characters in the Christmas story? So they're learning about Christmas. And secondly, what can I learn from the characters' stories and apply to my own life? So they're learning from the characters' stories and applying some nugget of truth to their own lives. It provides a beautiful, simple spiritual development opportunity, and it's welcoming and hospitable to children of all faiths and none. It encourages some RE skills like questioning and reflection and responding. It encourages, it covers some of the spiritual, moral, social and cultural development agenda, which schools have to cover. They have to provide spiritual development opportunities for children, and it taps into that really nicely. And it also encourages good mental health and well-being as the children think about their own lives, what they value, as they reflect on what's important. So it encourages all those things. And it's one large box containing 6 smaller boxes. In fact, it's actually just 6 smaller boxes tied together with a nice red ribbon. And the boxes are God's Big Story box, which introduces the resource, the story, sets the Christmas story in the context of the whole Bible. Mary's story box, Joseph's, Shepherds, Wise Men's story box. So all those characters' stories are examined. And then the story ends and begins, which wraps everything up, but then asks the question, how might we go forward from here? And each child gets a mini takeaway box as well, to gather up a few things as they go through the activities in the boxes and take away with them. So just to show you a few pictures, this is the resource, the whole resource together, and these are the various boxes: God's Big Story box, Mary's box, the Joseph's box, the Shepherd's box, the Wise Men's box, and the final boxes. And this is the mini takeaway box. Oh, no, that isn't actually the mini takeaway box, but you'll see later the mini takeaway box that the children take home. Okay, so that's the summary of what Christmas in a Box is. And in terms of unpacking the boxes, there's a rhythm and a pattern to doing that. So there are 4 steps. Step 1 for each box is asking the question, what's in this box as we take it out? What's in here? And there's a kind of moment of taking the things out, passing them around, and asking the questions. What is this? What is this item? How are these different things connected? And whose story is being told? So as you explore the resources with the children, they get to hold them, pass them around, and it's a moment of wondering, what does this mean? What are these things? Step 2 is to tell the story. So you then use a bit of a script that's in the user guide to help you then tell the story using the objects that the children are now holding. Step 3 is a wonder moment. So it's a moment to stop and reflect, to ponder on a question, to respond, share their thoughts and ideas. And then step 4 is a practical activity, which the children, which kind of helps the children remember what they've learned from that box and also gives them something to take away as well. It can be facilitated, as I said, by one adult, by a group of adults, working with a whole class, and we'll talk much more about all of that a bit later. In the user guide, there's some hints and tips on health and safety, how you could follow up the sessions with the school, with the children, and there's a little script introduction for introducing Christmas in a Box, which gives you a little kind of way of introducing it when you first go in with the resource. So that's just the first few pages of the user guide, and I've just used that to introduce it to you, really. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump straight in, and Jane is going to demonstrate for you opening the first couple of boxes. So hopefully this will really bring it to life for you.
Great, good. So behind me are a set of 6 boxes. So literally what you would do, and there's the user guide is very, very clear on all of this, and obviously you wouldn't stand there holding the whole thing and just reading it, but we've written a nice little intro, okay, which is basically, you know, hello, my name's Jane and I'm here from whatever church I'm from. And then you just, you know, share with them. Today we brought a lovely resource called Christmas in a Box, and together we're going to unpack all of these boxes, and they're going to tell us about Christmas and what Christians believe. And whether you're a Christian or not, this is going to be really exciting, and we're going to learn from it. So inside this box, we've got 6 boxes, and we're going to get started. So you literally do just such a simple rhythm, and I've done it with quite a few different age groups of kids now, and they all get into this very, very simple rhythm. So you basically just go through it in box number 1, and you start taking the stuff out and going, okay, what is this? Seeing what they say, allowing them lots of space to talk, and you go, okay, well, what's this? Oh, Traveller's World, what is it? And hand that round and see what they say, talking about the world. So we've got that, and then you just get out things, okay, and you start just saying, okay, well, what's this? A box? Why on earth Jesus in a box? What is this? Anybody know this? I mean, what is he in? What's he doing? and you just have a lot of wondering, a lot of letting them talk, really. What else we got? This is for later. I know that's for later, so you can tell the children that. We're going to have wonder moments. This has got felt chips in. That must be for later, I think. Ah, hang on, what's this? And they'll just probably shout out, I love you. So it's a poster, I love you. And does anybody know what this is? What on earth is a Bible? Anybody know what a Bible is? See what they say, and they just show them. There's all sorts of stories in there. And then what else have I got? Okay, does anybody want to open this? And as you're saying, you know, what are these things? You could say, well, how are they connected? You just start asking that question. How are all these things connected? And allowing them space to start sharing all of that. So here we go. So one of them might want to read this thing. It's a scroll. Look, but the Lord, I'm going to read it through that way. Here we go. But the Lord will show you this sign. The young woman will become pregnant and will give birth to a son. She will name him Emmanuel, which means God with us. It says it's from the Bible, Isaiah, and that's exactly the bit in the Bible, Isaiah 7:14. Oh my goodness, look, it's written a long time ago, 720 BC. Anybody know what BC is? And on you go. And so, yeah, you do all the objects, and then you go, okay, how are these things connected? And see what they say, all of those things. And then you ask the question, okay, whose story do you think's being told here in box number 1? Any of the characters of the story. And this one they might struggle with a bit, but then you get someone with the card to open. This is not as obvious as some of the others boxes. So here we go. It's God's big story. So you reveal that. It's the grand reveal moment with a nice little icon bit there. And then the script has got a really nice bit called Tell the Story. And you just basically start telling the story. So at this point, probably children have got all sorts of things that they're holding on to. And generally, I make sure that a different child's got different bits. And you go, okay, are you ready? We're going to tell the story of this box. And then you get them to hold up the objects as you tell them. So you say, these objects are going to tell us about God's big story. So here we go. Bible. And I'm just going to read it straight off here. Bible for Christians, God's big story is written in the Bible. And the Christmas story, could probably have it ready and find it and go boom. The Christmas story is part of it, written down thousands of years ago. Wow. I love you poster. Christians believe that God's big story is that God loves us. And we hold the globe up. Someone will have the globe. In fact, they believe God loves the whole world. The sea, the sky, the stars, the trees, the animals, and all of the people. Promise scroll, so you might get them to read that out again, one of them to read it. And then you say, these words were written down hundreds of years before Jesus was born. Christians believe that God promised to send Jesus into the world long before it happened. And then you go, okay, this box with Jesus on it and then we say the Christian Bible says that God gave Jesus to the world as a gift to show how much God loves us and that God's love can change us and change the world. And so Jesus wasn't just born in a palace, but in a smelly, dirty stable. He was laid in a manger like this one, a feeding trough for the animals. So there we go. We've done the story, told the story, and then they'll go, oh, that's interesting. Off we go. And then you get onto a bit of a wonder moment. So we've got a wonder moment question and then a wonder moment activity. So the wonder moment question for this bit, and it's all written in the user guide. The wonder moment question says, I wonder what we can learn from the objects in this story box. I wonder what we can learn from the objects, and allow them to have a bit of dialogue, time to wonder and see what they say. And then you get onto the wonder moment activity, the bit that follows the wonder moment question. So in here you go, okay, well, what's this? And there's some little peg characters. Now, it's not just one in there. Looks like there's enough for everyone. Okay, so, and then again, this is written down as a little script. So you go, Christians believe that God wants everyone to be a part of God's big story. Even if we're not Christians, we can learn from the Christmas story. And these wooden pegs are going to represent me and you, us. And we're going to take them as we unpack Christmas in a Box. And they're going to help us think about what we can learn from the story, regardless of what we believe. So use the felt tip pens. Here we go. We're going to get the felt tip pens out, and then they're going to colour in themselves. All right. So they design themselves on the little peg. And then they also get, in this activity bit, they also get, let's see, they also get one of these, which Liz said about, which is a mini box, which becomes their own takeaway Christmas in a Box mini version. And so it's just a nice little box like that. And so in this section, when they're colouring in their peg, which is them and what they are going to learn from this story, you've also got the mini box where they can write Christmas in a Box and decorate it however they like. And that's also quite a nice time filler for the other boxes when certain children finish really quickly. So the scene is set and the pattern's set. Great.
Well done, Jane. Thank you. So that's the first box. And while Jane gets all tidied up from that one, as you've seen, there's this rhythm and pattern emerging. Take the things out, wonder what they are. There's lots and lots of space with this resource for the children to speak, to have some lovely dialogue around the items, around the characters, around what they're learning. There's lots of space for it. So that's one of the beauties of it. I mean, some people are a bit scared by that, but hopefully you'll feel that takes the pressure off you in a way. You're not looking for set answers. You're just giving the children space to wonder and to reflect and to share their own thoughts in lots of those kind of dialogue moments. So box 2.
Great, box 2, and it's the same pattern. So I've got a wonder moment bag. We're going to hold on to that for next thing, for the next bit. And then you just start again. What is this? See if they know what that is. Probably a whole load of comments about that. Looks like something goes in there. I wonder what it is. Looks like there's some writing on here that doesn't look like our sort of writing. That's interesting. So there we go. What sort of English writing? It'd be interesting. Oh, hang on, I've dropped this now. Don't know where it's gone. Oh, I've dropped a ring somewhere. Here we go. Here we go. So in here we've got a little box with a ring. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Okay, I wonder what that is all about. See what they start saying. We've got a picture here. What's this a picture of? Looks like a house. Do you think it's a poor house, a rich house? See what they say. Do you think it's a long time ago? That's interesting. All sorts of questions. And looks like we've got, what's this? Okay, and then we've got this. So that might be a clue. And also we've got another one of these. What was this? See if they remember that it's a scroll, a bit of the Bible. And then you get them to read out that, which is basically the message from Gabriel saying, look, you're going to have a baby boy and what you're going to call him. So yeah, get them to read that out. And then again, that's pretty much all my stuff. But you say, okay, all of these things that we've got out, how are they connected? All right, how are they connected? And again, it's in my user guide, tell the story. So all different children are going to be holding those things. And so here we go. Are we ready? We're going to have Mary's. Oh, see if they, sorry, I forgot to say, how are these things connected? And then whose story is being told? Sorry. Number 2. And hopefully they will have said Mary's story. And that's the point that you're then going to tell the story. So we'll say, right, okay, you ready? All of this stuff is going to help us tell Mary's story. So photo. A photo of a house, picture of a house. This house is like the one that Mary lived in about 2,000 years ago. Wow. In a small town called Nazareth in Israel. She was from a poor family. This is Mary. Now, Mary was about 14 years old at the time of our story, and like many young girls her age, she was engaged to be married to a man called Joseph. And Mary would have had one of these special candle holders, maybe in her home, or she would have used one in the temple. And in her Jewish religion, it represented, and it had lots of candles in, would have represented the light of God. She was a Jew. There we go. Now, Bible scroll, one day an incredible thing happened to Mary. An angel visited her and gave her this very important message. Don't be afraid, Mary, because God is very pleased with you. Listen, you will become pregnant and have a baby boy. You will name him Jesus. He will be great. People will call him the Son of the Most High God. Wow. Okay. And again, that's written in the Bible. And the person who gave that message was an angel called Gabriel. Okay. Wow. So we told the story. Now, like our other box, we're going to have a wonder moment question. So the wonder moment question here is, I wonder why God chose a poor young girl from a small town in Israel. Why did he choose us, a poor young girl from a small town in Israel? And then you let them have a chat, all right? Let them have a chat all about that, see what they say. And then your wonder moment activity is in here. Let's have a little look, see what we've got. And they'll love these. They'll absolutely love these. We've got lots and lots of lovely polished stones, really nice polished stones. And then we've got some very ordinary cloth, muslin cloth, and we've got some little strings, okay? And the idea is, and it's all written in the script, is that on the outside, Mary's life was quite ordinary, a bit like this muslin cloth. But God saw something very special in Mary, and he knew that she was just the right person to give birth to Jesus. And so you say, okay, do you ever feel ordinary, just like, you know, Mary did maybe? Do you ever feel like that, like you don't really have anything special to offer? And then you say, okay, well, I wonder what Mary might say to you. Okay, I wonder what Mary might say to you about that. And Key Stage 1 might just want to draw Mary on there. And they might want to draw a little speech bubble of something she says, and it's quite forgiving, you can write on it. Key Stage 2 would definitely be able to write on there, and they can write a message from Mary to them. Okay, we feel, you know, not that special, pretty ordinary. What would Mary want to say to us? And they each get one of the stones, a precious stone that's inside a very, very ordinary looking bit of material. Again, I'll let Liz explain as I pack up, but that is then going to go into their takeaway box. But with all of these characters, and I'll let Liz say about it, but we were trying to get the nugget of each of these characters. Liz, I'll let you carry on.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jane. So that's the second box unpacked. That's the first of the character boxes. And as Jane said, what we've tried to draw out of with each character is this spiritual nugget of teaching that they can apply to their own lives. And so with Mary, it's her very ordinariness, and yet God chose her for a very special job, that she was special and precious and honoured by God. And the message being, we're all precious and special and honoured by God, no matter how ordinary we feel. So as Jane unpacks and shows the other boxes very quickly, we're going up, we'll pull out the nugget for you each time. And what that kind of builds to is the children are building a picture of this God that Christians worship, the kind of God God is. So there's some beautiful sort of underlying spiritual learning there. Okay, Jane, we're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to hand back to you.
I'm going to
just show these objects.
All right, so again, I'm not gonna go into it, but I'll just show you the objects. So we've got, and again, it's what is this? How's this connected? Whose story is being told? So this is a tiny little Torah. Okay, we've got a character there. Big giveaway, getting that one out first. Donkey. I've got another little box with a matching sort of ring. There we go. I've got another scroll, which has got, and they love this, ain't they, kids? You sort of think, oh, it's not that special, but they love things like opening it. I want to read it. I want to read it. I won't read it out, but it's, again, the bit of the story that relates to, Joseph's story. Really, really good bit there. We've also got a nice Hessian bag with oats in. All right, I won't get it all out, but it's got some oats for the donkey. Very important. Hammer. Don't worry, no one's going to cause any damage. Nice wooden hammer. We've got some wood chippings there relating to Joseph's job. And I've got a bag here, which, you know, if you're allowed to in the school, this is quite nice when you do the wonder moment, to light a lovely candle. All right, nice, got a beautiful smell, that one. And I've got in this one a map, okay, showing the route. All these things are downloadable, but we'll go into that in a minute. And then number 3, envelope, we've got Joseph's story. There we go. So that's that. And then the Wonder Moment bag has got in it, okay, the Wonder Moment bag. Oh, the Wonder Moment question, first of all, before the Wonder Moment bag. The Wonder Moment question for this is, I wonder how Joseph felt when the angel in his dreams told him to go ahead and marry Mary. So he's trying to allow them to get into that character. I wonder how Joseph felt when the angel in his dreams told him to go ahead and marry Mary. And then the Wonder Moment activity is, we've got these finger labyrinth cards, which are really nice, classic sort of pattern there. And we've written down here, if you're in Key Stage 1, there's a bit of a script. If you're in Key Stage 2, there's a different script. I'll read you the Key Stage 1 one. It says, sometimes we can feel a bit wibbly wobbly, all right? And Mary and Joseph had a wibbly wobbly route from Nazareth to Bethlehem. So it says, put your finger on the start of the labyrinth and see if you can follow the wibbly wobbly route to the center, to the middle, all right? And it says, sometimes we can feel a bit wibbly wobbly too, when things don't go the way we want them to. So close your eyes and take 2 deep, slow, gentle breaths. Think about the kind people who can help you when you feel scared or upset or lonely. And Joseph knew what it was like to feel like that. I wonder what he would say to you today. All right. And with the Key Stage 2 one, we've got a bit more about how Christians believe that Joseph was really guided by God, okay, which I'll let Liz fill in a bit more about. And again, on the back, we're loving this idea of what would these characters say to you. So it doesn't matter if you don't believe in it, what would these characters, what might be the take home from this story for us, all right? So they can write a little message from Joseph on the back as well if they want. So that's going into our little box as well. But yeah, Liz, explain a little bit more about the nugget we were trying to get from Joseph.
So the nugget with Joseph, the script kind of reveals the fact that Joseph was a good and righteous man who had wanted to do things the right way. And what a shock to his life it must have been when God asked him to marry a pregnant virgin, and how life sometimes takes twisty-turny avenues, and hence the labyrinth activity. So it's about, you know, God calling people out from beyond their comfort zone and into unexpected things, and that's what the labyrinth activity is meant to represent. So that's the nugget from Joseph's box. So we're going to move on to box number 4, just quickly showing you the bits and bobs in that.
Great. Okay, good. Hopefully you're getting the rhythm, and they don't get bored with it. Kids love a little bit of routine. So here we go. Shepherd's headdress bit. All right. We've got that one of them might want to end up putting on. So a rope and a little bit of headdress stuff. We've got a sheep. We've got in here are some pumpkin seeds, alluding to the fact that they were living rough and they were trying to get food wherever they could, foraging, getting stuff from the fields. Giving it away, we're on the shepherd's box. So we've got some sticks for a fire, got a shepherd, got a sword, about the Romans, and then we've got a load of sheep's wool, smells of the sheep as well. Smells good. They'll love handling that, real sheep's wool. We've got a picture, which I'm trying to get out. There we go, it's stuck. Showing the hills outside Bethlehem sort of today, but again, it gives them a sense of what the landscape's like. And then we've got another scroll, and that scroll says the story of the shepherds and what happened. And then we've got this thing that you might think is a bit of a curveball, but it's really been helpful with explaining the shepherd's story to the children. Just explaining that and it relates to the nugget, that they felt a little bit like the losing team, all right, that they were a bit like the losers, the ones on the edge of society. So that's been very helpful. And then we've got the card with, there we go, shepherd's story. Quickly whizzing through, whiz. What else we got? We've got the wonder moment question, which is, okay, think of someone, and again, this sounds like it's coming out of the blue a bit, but when you've read the rest of the script, it doesn't. Think of someone who might in some way feel, be a little bit like these shepherds, someone not so popular, or someone who's treated unfairly. Perhaps someone who doesn't have all the latest gadgets or toys, or who is poor or homeless. I wonder what we can learn from this story about how to treat those people, and then having space for discussion on that. And then the activity, the little take-home thing that they're going to put in their thing, is a little mini flag. And so it says, have you ever felt like the shepherds, like an outsider, ignored, forgotten, or rejected? I wonder what the shepherds would say to you today. So if they're struggling for writing, they can just draw the shepherd, and then they can talk to you about what would the shepherd say to you today. And if they can write, then they can write their little message. And again, that goes in their mini takeaway box. Okay, brilliant. Go for it, Liz.
Amazing, thanks, Jane. So that was the shepherd's box. So you probably picked up the kind of spiritual nugget there that we're asking the children to grasp, is that God invited the really most, it's kind of following a pattern now, invited the most unlikely people in some ways to be part of this most epic central story of God's big story, including shepherds who were literally society's fringe people, you know, often held in suspicion, rejected, outsiders, and yet God invites them into the very center of God's story. And so we're just asking them to think about either whether they've ever felt like that, or if they could observe others who may feel or be treated like that today. So next box.
Yeah, just to say, as always, kids always are more deep than I imagine them to be. So when we were writing it, you're sort of thinking, oh, are they really going to get all of this? But the kids I've done it with have absolutely come up with some amazing things that they've said and discussed. So here we go. Box number 5. That's a pretty giveaway, that, isn't it? Here we go. So again, what is it? How are these things all connected? Nice robe there. We've got a star, and again we've tried to pick quite nice tactile stuff, chunky things, nice things to hold. I quite like getting them all out because they're just so nice, and the kids will want to hold them and so on. So here we go, got a couple of little boxes. That's got some frankincense in. We've got some myrrh. Okay, again, that's nice. Let them have a little smell of that, explain what that is, see if they know. Got some gold, and again, just giving them space. What are these things? How are they all connected? Whose story's being told? Got a picture of the night sky. Got another map. Love a map. Okay, showing a route. There it goes. And then we've got the card. So whose story is being told after you've chatted about what all these things, how they're connected, wise men's story. And then, again, before you do your wonder moment activity, there's a nice little question, which hopefully I can find. Here we go. And again, all in the script, it says, all right, even though the wise men were from a distant, faraway country, and another religion, God invited them to be part of the Christmas story. I wonder what I can learn from this story about how to treat people who are different to me? And then you have a discussion. All right, lovely question, that one. And then in here, we've got the Wonder Moment activity, just some nice little stars, card stars for them to colour. And these activities are just giving space really for ongoing dialogue with them and a good chat, seeing what their beliefs are, what they think. So it says all sorts of people are invited to be part of God's Christmas story. Some were rich, some were poor, some were young, some were older, some were born in the same country as Jesus, others were born in different countries. Some were clever, others probably never went to school, but they all had their part to play. Have you ever felt different to the people around you? And then you say, I wonder what the wise men would say to you today. And some of them might want to write that message on the back, and some of them will just enjoy making this look really, really beautiful. Okay, so, and again, that then goes into their little own mini box. And this is a great, if people finish that real quick, they've got all sorts of sides to colour, haven't they? And they could be doing all the characters on there and so on and so on. So that is good.
Great, well done. You're hanging in there, people. We're coming to land on the resources, and then we'll answer all your, I love how these questions are bubbling up about, oh, I can tell people are beginning to imagine how this could work, all the different potential ways it could work from the questions that are popping up in the chat. So that's really great, and we'll talk a lot about that in just a moment. So one more box to go. So that nugget with the kings, with the wise men rather, was, as you probably spotted, this the scandal really of God inviting people from a different land and a different religion into God's story is quite arresting, and probably quite very revealing really about who God is. And so we're just asking the children to ponder that really. Okay, final box.
Great, final box. Well done everyone, sticking with us. Box number 6. So again, it is holding the things up. We've got the Wonder Moment, stick that out the way. And what we've got here is the stable. What I haven't done is you then add all the characters in. All right, so I'd have to get them from all the other boxes, which I should have stored up. I've been far too tidy packing them away, but you get the scene. You basically set up the scene. All right, so you've got the stable, and I'd probably have them all in the box to get all the characters out and set up the scene. So I've got that, and I've also got a heart. Ooh, that's interesting, reminding me of the story, the heart bit. I've got a map showing 3 different routes going on. That's good. And then it's not tons in that bit. And then I've got, whose story is this? This is interesting. It's called The Story Ends and Begins. All right, so that's that. And we've got a nice script for all of that you read out. Which basically is alluding to the fact that, you know, it's returning to this being a story of love. It's returning to the fact that it's a story that's invited all these people in, and also that every good story, whether we've got the same belief, the same religion or not, every good story changes us. And so that's why we've called it The Story Ends and Begins, because it often affects us. So the Wonder Moment question with this is, right, it says, let's look at all the things in our mini box. So you get them out and have a little look. And it says, I wonder what we have learned from this story. And it says, we're coming to the end of Christmas in a Box, and I wonder what we have learned. All right. And we've got these to give them. And so you start having a chat about that, but we've got these to give them as well. This was suggested by a year 1 teacher last year. And it was a brilliant suggestion, little cards, and they're downloadable. It says, we've learnt, literally she came up with it, we've learnt about the stories of the characters in the Christmas story. It all happened a long time ago, but stories can change us today. They can give us a new beginning because of what we learn from them. And then you've got your name and age on there. And then some of them might want to actually write, what have I learnt from this whole experience? What have I learnt? And then the last thing you've got in there is a heart to decorate, which is nice little heart decoration. And obviously realizing that some of them won't celebrate Christmas, so it's not doesn't have to go on a tree, but it could go just in their room. And this is to remind them that for Christians, the Christmas story is all about love. God loving the world and all the people and giving Jesus as a gift. And so it's, as you colour it in, you then have a chat about this story and what it's meant to us and what we've learned from it. So yeah, and that all goes in their box. And what's lovely is they get to take home some really nice things, and that goes with them and ripples on. And then with this, will help them to explain. That's what the teacher wanted, for them to be able to explain a little bit about what is this story about and what have I learned from it, and that to be able to go home with them. Cool, that's
Amazing.
it. Well done.
Well done, Jane. Didn't she do well unpacking all those boxes? And now she'll have to tidy them all away again. But thanks, Jane. That was a really, really great job. Well done. Okay, so we're going to have a time for questions, but I'm going to preempt some of the questions that were bubbling up all around the practicalities and how to use this resource, group numbers, who might lead it, could it work in assembly, all those different things. So we're going to talk for a few moments about that, so that hopefully will satisfy that one, but then there may be follow-up questions after that. So in a practical sense, let's start with the ideal. I think when Jane and I dreamed this up, we were in a lockdown, things were very different, but our ideal in terms of future years when there wasn't lockdowns was that potentially a little team of maybe 4 volunteers from a church might take the resource in to use with a class, and then they might together with the whole class unpack the first box to set the scene, and then the children could split into 4 groups, so they'd be roughly in sort of 8 to 10, something like, depending on the size of the class. And they could explore the 4 middle boxes, if you like, the character boxes, Mary, Joseph, shepherds and wise men, in small groups in carousel fashion. So they could move around, it wouldn't matter which order they did them in, and explore the 4 characters boxes, and then perhaps the whole class come back together to be led by one of the volunteers. I mean, if you had 6 volunteers, you could literally have 6 groups, smaller groups, and then the children do the whole thing as a carousel. But obviously chronologically it's best if they do the first box first and the last box last, and then the 4 boxes in the middle don't matter. So a team of 4 could easily manage this with one class. However, some of you may not have teams of 4, in which case it could work with one adult. It would be quite tricky to hand the items round and to give the children that really multi-sensory interactive experience with a whole class, if there's just one of you handing one box content round at the same time. But what you could do if there's only one of you is you could request a class or a year group to send small groups to you to do the session with a small group at a time. Now, obviously, that's going to be time consuming, because we roughly reckon it takes between 2 and 2.5 hours to unpack all the boxes. So sort of, again, back to an ideal scenario, you'd have a group of children, maybe 10 children, in order to hand the things round and everyone to get a good experience for probably what would be a whole morning in a primary school class. So it could be that you offer this to a particular group of children who would particularly benefit from it if there's just one of you. If you've got loads of times and there's loads of availability in terms of the school, you could do it with, say, a whole class, but over 3 sessions. You'd have to have 3 mornings. Does that make sense? So a group of 10 for one morning, another group of 10 in the class another morning, another group of 10 in the class another morning. So that's another way it could be done. I'm going to stop now because I rabbited on. That's a few options. Jane, do you want to add some thoughts and other ideas how it could be used?
I think you've given a lot of possibilities there, Liz.
I mean, the question about an assembly, I love that. I love what you're thinking there. Obviously it would be too long for one assembly, but you could unpack the first box and introduce the resource in an assembly if you were then going to go and work with a class individually. I think if at all possible, the ideal would be for you to grab 3 other people and to go in together to do it for one class in a morning, to take a whole morning. I mean, they can go out to morning play, that's a nice break for them, but to do it in one morning with a whole class, 4 of you. And then if there's 2 class, say you've got 2 classes in a year group in your school, perhaps go back another morning and do it with the other class.
Yeah, I think it's if you did it in assembly, it's not the idea is the dialogue, and so our idea of like maybe rotating round, whatever, I'm just a massive fan of trying to get as few kids as possible with one adult, so they've got a voice and they can have that dialogue with local Christians is really helpful as well. Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions about that particular issue before we put that one to bed, about adapting it, class numbers, size, group numbers, etc.? Just feel free to unmute yourself and speak up if you do.
I was just going to ask, is it similar to like Easter in a box? So I did Easter in a box, and there was 2 of us that went into a class of 30, and we just went through over the morning, 2.5 hours. They went out for break or whatever, but we did it that way, just each box stages. Does it work the same way? Presumably, you can just.
So you did one box at a time with a group of 30. Yeah, and that would. How was that?
Yeah, it was good, and we just displayed it. We had a table, and we just displayed all the things and asked them. And if there were certain props, I can't remember exactly what was in the Easter in the box now, but there were certain things that they could hold, or the clacker board. They did. Is the clacker board not in this one?
No, because Easter in a Box is Easter in a Box, the movie, so it's set out like a kind of movie script, whereas this is slightly different. More on that another time for the rest of you, but there is an Easter in the Box as well. Lovely to hear that you did that, Julie, and brilliant job doing that, 2 of you with a class of 30. I think if you can make it work, great. I think that, you'll know that actually the smaller groups you can get, the more interaction you get, the more holding that the children get to do, the more dialogue you get, the more personal interaction. So when we describe that, we are describing the ideal, and we recognise that you can't always do the ideal. So it sounds like you did a really great job. There's no kind of rules to this. It's like, you can't do it like this or that. It's about all of you taking it and making it work in your context.
Can I just ask a question?
Go, Jo. Yeah, nice to see you.
I'm actually going ahead at long last. It's only taken me a year to get my act together at the beginning of December, and we're doing the whole of year 4. I'm slightly concerned, so I'm interested in what Jane in particular thinks. We have, because it's their Christmas bash that day, we are in the classroom. So there are 4 of us. So my idea is I will do first and last box, and then each of the 4 of us will do 1 of 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do you feel a classroom is big enough for the 4 groups?
I've done it. Yes.
Excellent.
I think you just gotta segment it off, have the chairs all ready, round, whatever. Yeah, you'll be fine. It'll work.
Okay, and just to encourage anybody who is thinking about this, I thought, how on earth am I going to get 3 other people? Because when I first saw this, I mean, Jane and Liz will say this, I think this is my 3rd or 4th time at the training, because I'm a slow learner. This is my final, but I was really so inspired by it. But I thought, how can I get other people interested? And I think it's about choosing the right people, because what has come over to me is the key to it is the way that it is delivered. I mean, Jane's, her enthusiasm for working with young people is almost tangible, and I think it's selecting those people who you feel have that particular gift, and then what they're doing is they're coming round a week before, and I'm going to do Christmas in a Box to them with lots of chocolate biscuits and coffee provided, so because they're all visual learners, so they actually experience it themselves. And I'm hoping that way it will work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, great. Sounds great, Jo. Yeah, so glad that you're doing it this year. Please let us know how it goes. Because that's the story of Christmas in a Box. It was the same last year. Everyone will do something slightly different, so it's great to share your stories. Jeremy, what's your question?
Have you tried to do it just like with one person in a class of 30? I mean, how does it play out then?
We did have some teachers who did that last year, because obviously it was very different last year and lots of volunteers couldn't go into school. So we had some teachers doing that. Obviously they bring all the skills and the training that a teacher brings to that situation. And, again, as I said before, it's not that we're saying that won't work. It could work fine. It's just, it won't be the deluxe experience for the children, because similarly, that could sort of answer your question, Elizabeth, that you've put in the chat. Thank you for that, about assemblies. I suppose the deluxe experience and what we designed it for, you can see all the resources are beautiful and juicy, and the deluxe experience is them handling those and talking about it together and showing each other, and then each having a chance to respond and reflect. So that's the kind of deluxe experience, if you like. So yes, Jeremy, it could work, it would work, but it won't be quite as beneficial as if you have smaller groups.
And some of I go into quite a lot of schools, and one of them still hasn't had any volunteers for Open the Book. So I'm kind of wondering, if I got one of these sets and tried to get a one slot where I could offer the first presentation and then get the teachers to carry on with it, say over a series of days.
Yeah.
Do you think that could work?
I think that could work. Yeah, I think you've got to make it work in your context according to your own availability. You know, you can't, you know, Christmas is busy enough, isn't it? And I think you've got to make it work. And, you know, we know that you have great relationships with your local schools, and they trust you and know you, and you input in all sorts of ways. So, because our heart and passion, that's what our heart and passion is, as you know, to have churches and schools connecting. So in that scenario, there's, you know, that could work well, certainly if that's what you need to do, because you're stretched, or haven't got time to do that.
Because at the moment, none of our teams are working. It's only me going in at the moment in all our schools, if at all.
So you're only human, and you can only do so much, can't you? And because they know you and really appreciate and value you, I think that would be great. Great. Tim, your hand is raised, I think. Did you mean to do that?
I did, yes. Hi. So I've been put in touch with our local school. It was a happy God incident, but one of their teachers said, "Oh, I'd love to bring some kids across to the church." I said, "Oh, great! We could do Christmas in a box with them whilst they're with us or something." And she said, "Oh, I'm not sure about that, but we have got a whole school RE day in December, and so I'll pass it on to the RE lead, and I'm sure the whole school would love to do Christmas in a box." And so obviously there's nothing set in stone. If it was to be scaled up so that there was a way of kind of every class doing it, do you think it would be a case of having to supply do sort of some training with the teachers or something, or supply the teachers? And maybe the other thing I did think was, if we took in some volunteers, could they travel from classroom to classroom with their numbered box, and throughout the day each person goes in with their box, and, you know, across the court, maybe in conjunction with other activities, because they've got the whole day thinking about Christmas, basically. Just wondering if I need to turn around and say, "Oh, not sure about that, actually. I think we probably just need to do it with the one class or something," or whether you think there is a way it could be easily scaled up for a whole school to explore.
Jane, do you want to say something?
I think anything's possible, Tim. We'd love to have a follow-up conversation with you about this. Yeah, if we could. Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be good.
That would be really interesting. Yeah.
We'll be in touch.
And very excited, because we know the school you're on about. I think that's very exciting. Yeah. So we'll have a chat.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Heidi, your hand's raised.
Yeah, hi. I was at your training last year, so I'm a second timer, and this year I am super excited because I'm actually going to do it. So at this moment I'm in discussion with my school about which year group, and there's been a lot of talk about doing it with the year sixes, because I'm privileged to be part of a Church of England school, and the year sixes go off and don't get any Christian content after. I was wondering, have people done it with year sixes? And as I was seeing again, Jane, what you're doing, and I was thinking I would probably remove the characters from the boxes, and to make it a little bit not served on a plate to the older ones. But I know you said it's for any primary age range, but has people done it for year six?
Yeah, we had quite a last minute camp that we put together in the summer, a Falcon camp that I run. So we had Christmas as our theme, and we did Christmas in a box basically, and did it with the whole camp at lunch times and stuff. So it's done in small groups. But my point is, we split them into age groups. So there was a small little group of volunteers working with the year 5-6 children. and it's all about how you deliver it, and it's all about the dialogue you have. Because, you know, I reckon you could have a fantastic dialogue with adults with those questions, and it's all about the dialogue. So yeah, remove those characters, plonk them in when they guess it, and have a really interesting dialogue. Basically, the things they write on it will be interesting, the discussion they have will be interesting. It totally can work. It's just how you deliver it. So yeah,
that's better. Right, so just to say that the resource that we've produced, in terms of the cost to you, it's about you putting together the boxes, so buying the resources. So if you're going to do it this year and you haven't started doing that yet, you will need to get cracking and ordering the resources yourselves. And we estimate that the cost for the resources, putting the resources into the boxes, which of course includes some consumable items, so some items that will get used up, like the stones and the cloth and the things the children take away, roughly around £250. Is that right, Jane? About £250 for the whole thing?
Yeah, you might get it cheaper.
Yeah, because you might be able to beg, steal or borrow. I mean, obviously, when we designed this, it was ordering everything online, so you're paying delivery costs, etc. But you may be able to borrow things from people at church or go to pound shops. All of that was shut last year, so it cost about £250 to put everything together. But the kind of part of the resource that's free to you to download from our website is the user guide, and then a few other things like this. This is the resource list. It tells you every single item that you need for every box, and you'll see some of them have a blue dot next to them. That means it's downloadable from our website. And the red dot means it's something that will need replenishing. So for instance, Tim, with his doing it for the entire school, and you know, it's going to cost you more, because there are some things that it would cost you more if you did that. There are some things that need to be provided for each child that does it. So that's your resource list. So that comes as part of the package. And then you get the sort of the other bits and bobs that we've created. You get the maps that you need for the different boxes. You get the photographs that we included in the boxes. Sorry that our logo is there, but that was the copyright rules for using the photographs. So anyway, there's the photographs. You get the Bible scrolls to print off, which are in some of the boxes. And you get the stickers and things and the cards that you need. So the I love you poster, the Jesus stickers for the little Jesus box, and a big label to put on your big red ribbon, and for wrapping up the whole box, all of the boxes. The box numbers are there, and then the little icon cards to stick into your cards that reveal whose story is being told, and the Wonder Moment card that you hang on to your Wonder Moment box. And then finally the summary cards that go in their boxes, at the takeaway boxes at the end. So that's all part of it. And then we kind of created a thing which we definitely didn't send to our designer, as you'll see. This is just our own Excel file of where we ordered everything, and of course other suppliers are available, but if it saves you time, we've created a list of all the things you need for all of the boxes, and then you'll see at the top there a little place where you can put your order date, what it cost, if it arrived, and some links to where you could order those things from. Other brands are available, so there's that. Just that's downloadable from the website as well, just in case that is useful to you. So that's the kind of free downloadable things from our website. We're going to put in the chat in a moment, we'll put the link to our web page. In fact, yeah, I won't show you it because it's obvious. We'll put the link to our web page where you can go online to our website and download all of those things that I've just shown you for free. And we'll also put into the chat in a moment the link to our YouTube channel, because on there's a really short little promo video for Christmas in a Box, which is quite a good way of showing it to a school. If you've got a head teacher or an RE lead that's saying, well, what is Christmas in a Box? What's it all about? You could send the link to that little promo video. It's literally 1.5 minutes and it explains it. And then there's a slightly longer one if they're interested. There's a three odd minute one that explains it in a bit more detail. And in our YouTube channel, there's also lots of other resources and ideas that you can tap into as well. So I'll put both of those links in the box in a moment. Just checking on my list what else I need to tell you. I think we're almost there. We've got 10 minutes left if we need it. Any other questions occurred to people? I see there's some in the chat. Okay, great. So let's just run through these. Oh, Jane, have you answered them already in the chat?
only one. There's
Okay.
something about the mini boxes already put together. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are currently flat packed. That is a bit time consuming. Depends if you're in a rush, doesn't it? I think it would be quite nice to have, like when Joe's getting her team round, get them making up some boxes with their nice cups of tea and biscuits. That might be helpful. Yeah, but then the
Right.
year sixes might enjoy putting them together.
And that's a lovely question, Sophie, from you about churches sharing the main boxes. We've got churches in Bristol who are doing that this year. We produced 8 boxes for some friends around the city last year, and then those are being shared around this year. Lovely idea. You can book into school on different dates. You can share your boxes around. Really nice idea. I'll also email, I could email you. Yeah, Julie, I could email round to this group if you like, the links and so on. I'll do that. But I'll also put it in here in a moment. So maybe Jane, could you take Heidi's question? Heidi, is your hand up again?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And I'll
Go for it, Heidi.
I'll put the links in the chat while you do that.
It's a bit of a it's a bit of a weird question. It just as you were doing it earlier, it's hit me. I come from a very diverse area in Bournemouth, and as you were pulling out those peg dolls that I think are great, and we've just had a thing up in the school about doing lots of different depictions of Jesus, different colours and all that, and I'm thinking they're all kind of like beigey, those peg doll things, and I was just processing in my own mind, should I do that or should there be some other consideration there? And yeah. I guess Bristol's quite diverse as well. Has anyone commented on that? Or yeah, sorry to
no, it's great. It's such a great question. It's a really important question. Nobody has, as far as I know, made a comment about that, but I think it's a genius idea. I think I've got a feeling we looked, didn't we, originally, Jane, last year to see if we could find some pegs which express more diversity, and I think
about the actual little pegs that you colour in. Is that what you want about?
Yeah, they don't represent Jesus. I know. No. I think you weren't suggesting they were representing.
They represent you. Yeah.
In terms of diversity, I think we looked and couldn't find anything more diverse. So I guess it's up to the children to make it look the way that they want it to look.
I've seen someone's written that they soak the peg people in different food colours for diversity. That might be an idea, to soak some in tea bags or something to make them darker. Because I just think they are all light, aren't they? And the school I would go into, they are very different colours. The kids, all of them. Yeah. And I wouldn't want that to be a thing.
Yeah, so
you might be able to get some dark wood ones. Have a look. Have a look. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have a look if there's different
shades. I was just processing aloud about that part.
That's
just hit me.
Really good. Great. Any other final questions about any of it?
Yeah, I mean, someone's just said having the right felt tip colours. Yeah, I mean, you can get all those, don't you?
Yeah. Tim, do you have a question?
No, just waving my arms around. Sorry.
Oh, feel free. Any other thoughts, questions, or anything that ideas that you've had like that? That's such a great idea from Heidi. Any other thoughts or ideas that you were mulling over as you watched us unpack the boxes, or as we've been showing you the resource? Anything else? Okay, great. Okay,
Liz, can I just ask a question?
Yes, Rachel.
Did someone say just a minute ago? I only half heard it. That we could use the resource like as an after school club, but like an after school club where families come. So could you do it would that work?
I think that sounds lovely. Do you, Jane?
Yeah, I think you can do it however you want to do it. Go for it. Some people did do it as a lunch club, and someone did it as an after school club, and I did it on a camp. I think it's got, you could, if you had a couple of families around a table, and it can totally work. It's a tool, isn't it? It's a discussion tool, it's a dialogue tool, it's a craft tool, it's there. It's a nice resource, it's versatile, and it's not caged.
No.
Yeah.
used.
And you all have some expertise in working with children, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So it's for you to go and make it work in your context and be creative with it. But
Yeah.
please let us know, because we'd love to know what you do with it and how it works and the different contexts that it works in. We would
I
really
think
love
one-
that. And if you can get hold of us via our website, just
Yeah.
use the contact page.
Just quickly going to say, one of our the other sort of aims of it was that it was timeless. So it might seem like, oh my goodness, that's a bit of money to put in, but it's not reliant on IT. It's not reliant. I can imagine probably getting that out in 5-6 years time, and it's still looking all right, you know. So we've done it quite timeless. The main thing that is reliant on is dialogue and good discussion, and your leaders being, whoever's leading it, being relevant. So yeah, that's the heart of it.
And I think just finally, we'd say go small if it's your first year, and if you know, apart from Tim, who's going
Unless
to
you're
do it for the whole
Tim.
school, go small and just try it out with one class or even one small group and see how it goes. Get into the rhythm of it, and then, you know, you can go a bit bigger next year if you want to. It's not about quantity really and numbers, it's about the quality of the experience. So, you know, don't worry about just going small in your first year. Go for it and have a go and see what happens. Okay, any other final questions, because we're almost finished? Great. If anything else occurs to you, do get in touch with us via our website. We don't charge for this resource but we do take donations if you feel that way inclined. Absolutely no pressure at all. Really lovely to have you here. Thanks for all the brilliant questions. Go forth and use it, and come back keep an eye on our Facebook page, because we'll be running training next year for Easter in a Box the movie, but also Pro Spaces in Schools and various other things. So do keep an eye on our follow us on Facebook at Bristol Schools Connection if you want to hear about that stuff. And do feel free to contact us via the website. Lovely to see you all, and thank you for coming.